of puppy playtime after I'm done explaining all of this. We can do some playtime if you would like. So real quick, I want to talk about anchoring the leash and ways to hold your leash to keep you safe, keep the puppy under control. So first things first is leash on the wrist. This is dangerous. This is also dangerous. When the dog gets big, if they pull and it's wrapped around your wrist or wrapped around your hand, this is a great way to get a broken hand or broken fingers. So keep that in mind. When they're baby puppies, some puppies generate enough force that this can still be painful, but especially when they get older, this is a really great way to hurt yourself. So instead of doing that, if you hold the leash just over your palm like that, and then grip. If you have excess leash, you can kind of fold it up like this, and then you can let it out as you go. If you have a leash that's kind of hard to hold on to, sometimes tying a knot in the middle is helpful if you need an extra anchor point. Or they also do make leashes that have a handle here, and then they've got a handle halfway down so that you have something extra to grip. But be careful with leash on the wrist or leash wrapped around your hand. It's really easy to get hurt if you do that. Another thing to keep in mind is holding the leash by your stomach, so your navel, your hips, somewhere in this area. That's where most people, especially women, that's where your center of gravity is. I think men's it's slightly higher up, but women especially, your center of gravity is down low in your pelvis. So if you hold the leash here and you have your arm kind of locked into position like this, if the dog pulls, you are anchored at the center at your center of gravity, so the dog doesn't get as much leverage. If I am holding my leash like this at my side, if my dog pulls, I end up doing one of these, and then I'm more likely to get hurt because I'm getting yanked out of my center of balance and my arm is getting yanked, and that's no good. Another thing you can do when you're standing still is to anchor your leash, and by that I mean you step on it. So you can step on it with both feet. Step on it with both hands. You can step on it with both feet, or you can step on it with one foot, whichever feels correct for you. You can kind of stand like this, and then my dog is going to have a much harder time getting away from me or jumping or trying to pull towards something. If you are sitting down and you are anchoring your leash, that is a little bit more uncomfortable and it feels different. If I'm sitting and I have my feet on my leash, my weight is in my seat right now because I'm sitting down. There's really not a lot of force in my feet, so the leash is more easily pulled out from under me. If I'm sitting and I want to anchor my leash, I need to sit forward in my chair so that my weight is coming into my thighs and my feet. And then that way, if the dog pulls, I am holding them down more, versus if I am sat back like this, if my feet are on the leash, I have to kind of actively push into the balls of my feet and engage my thighs in order to hold the dog in place. So that's something to keep in mind so you're not caught off guard. If you're ever sitting down somewhere and you're just relaxed back in your chair, there's actually not a lot holding that leash down. I need to actively push my feet into that leash, or I need to sit forward so that my body weight is leaning more into my feet and then keeping the leash in place.
Make sure you have some slack in your leash. You don't want it to be tight.
Yes, also that. So when I anchor my leash, it should be enough slack that my dog can stand and sit easily, and I'm not pulling their neck down to the ground. So I don't want to anchor the leash so tight that it's causing the dog to kind of buckle their neck and sit like they're uncomfortable. They should be able to stand and sit easily, but if they were to try to jump, they're not gonna get more than like an inch or two off the ground. Any questions on that, or anything else that may be plaguing your mind?
I have a question about his new leash.
Mhm.
He's already chewing on this.
Chewing on the collar or the leash?
Both, but
Both.
basically this round part right here,
Mm-hmm.
he can chew this and he's already doing
Let me
it.
see if I have one that's smaller.
Yeah, is he chewing
We'll
it
swap
while
out for a
we're-
smaller one.
Is he chewing it while he's walking or just hanging out?
Hanging out pretty much, or
Okay, yeah, we'll see if there's a smaller one for him. Sometimes with the way those are designed, especially poodles, they seem very bendy and they can kind of get their mouth onto it. So we will see if there's a smaller one to fit him with.
You may fit in a small martingale.
The other option is if he's doing it like overnight, is just take it off overnight and then put it back on during the day. But yeah, it might just be slightly too big and we'll get him a different one.
okay, because he's been chewing it almost the whole time we've been here.
Okay. Oh, buddy. It's just so hard to be a puppy.
Hey, one thing I do is, they've got a charm bracelet collar that their tags are on that they wear all the time. And his paws leash is attached to the leash, or paws collar is attached to the leash. So that when we're going out, he gets this collar put on and his cape. It's like, these are my work clothes. So the two things kind of put in their brain, hey, I have to actually behave now.
Mhm. So you're saying he has a regular flat collar
Yeah,
that
this
doesn't,
is,
yeah,
it's
he has
loose, so.
He has a regular flat collar that doesn't dangle the way that the paws collars do, is what she means.
Yeah, so this is his charm bracelet, he wears it, it's got his name tag, his paws tag on it. And then it's nice if you're somewhere where you don't wanna hear that, like church, you can take that off, but he's still on a collar.
Yeah. So yeah, you can use a collar that is not the one that paws issued. It should definitely have tags on it, and it's better if it's a martingale if you're walking them. So if you're just hanging out in the house and you want a flat collar on them that doesn't have any of the restriction on it, that's okay. But then walking them, they should have that
Yeah, he always,
martingale.
this one
Yeah.
always goes on when, cause it's always attached to the leash that I use
Yep.
for him. So I never have a leash attached to that flat collar.
Yeah.
It's only to this.
Yeah. Good advice. Okay, so we do not have classes next week. We've got classes again in March. We will post videos this week and the next 2 weeks so that you still have stuff to work on, and anybody that wasn't at in-person classes can watch what we did this week. And then the following 2 weeks will be virtual, and then in March we will have in-person classes again, and we'll continue this pattern. So if you would like your puppies to have a little bit of playtime, I would take their capes off of them first, just so that there's not extra things for puppies to chew and bite on. And then you can unclip them once their cape is off. If you don't want to have puppy playtime, that's totally okay. Then we will see you again soon.